Our receiver on Good Morning Football on Friday, talking about what he's most excited for in the upcoming Vikings quarterback competition. Take a listen to this.
Just competition, for real. Just to see who's going to be that last man standing, who's going to be that dog, who's going to be that leader to carry us throughout this season, because that is definitely a missing piece that we're looking for, and something that, is very important to our team, which is the quarterback spot.
So putting together the theme here of Anthony Edwards, a frustrated superstar, maybe sending a message, Dan Graziano, there may be some way of looking at the acquisition of Kyler Murray as maybe the organization sending a message to their frustrated superstar.
I don't think there's any doubt, Greeny. I don't think Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings could have just run it back with J.J. McCarthy after what happened last year and expected the locker room to accept that. I think it's very important to note that Justin Jefferson, in a time when the whole world is me, and at a position that's been known in the past for diva behavior, Justin Jefferson delivered none of that last year in spite of all the struggles. He was supportive of J.J. McCarthy. He was a good teammate. I do think that this is an acknowledgement by the coaching staff that, like, hey, that's awesome, but let's do something to make sure he doesn't feel like he has to be put in that position again. So Kyler Murray, the veteran, I think everybody believes he'll win the job. I think J.J. McCarthy's still somebody they haven't given up on. But the fact of the matter is they wanted to make sure to have somebody in there that Justin Jefferson, the rest of that locker room, will look at as, hey, we're trying here. We're trying to make it better.
I think that's a really important point. All through the season last year, when we'd watch the games together as a group with Sunday Countdown, Randy Moss was constantly complimentary of Justin Jefferson for never letting his body language get bad, never showing the frustration that you might expect sometimes. But to see that for another season might have been a bridge too far. D. Wood, what would you imagine this is in that locker room now? Because those guys, no one knows better than the locker room what they really have.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Greeny, as bad as the quarterback play was, they were 9-8. They were still right there as far as a playoff push, and you can't expect that type of, attitude, another year round where you get atrocious quarterback play and for guys to hang in there. Listen, those guys on the clock. Veterans don't want to hear about, rookie play, young quarterbacks in there, their ups and downs. Guys got careers and they got aspirations, and so another year of bad quarterback play, man, things could boil over in that locker room.
Absolutely. So I thought those were two interesting things to put together there. You got Anthony Edwards, what's going on in Minnesota with the Timberwolves. You got Justin Jefferson, what's going on in Minnesota with the four-time MVP was seen this morning at the Steeler facility as OTAs begin today in Pittsburgh. There he is right there this morning. Aaron Rodgers arriving in Pittsburgh, greeting some people, getting ready to go. He's reportedly returning on a one-year deal worth up to $25 million. So he's reuniting with the Steelers, and he's reuniting with his former coach, Mike McCarthy. They won Super Bowl 45 together in Green Bay, including the playoffs. They've combined to win 109 games, which is the ninth most of any coach-quarterback duo in the Super Bowl era. Dan Graziano and Damian Woody are up with us early this morning. Dan, we have been waiting for this. I suppose it's no surprise. Tell the folks what they need to know about Rodgers being there today.
Well, they start a phase of OTAs today where they can practice on the field. He's there in time for that. That's obviously voluntary work. We'll see how much of it he's there for, but obviously good sign for them that he's there at the beginning of it. This has sort of always been the way it was going to end. We've gone back and forth about what's taken so long, et cetera, et cetera. Rodgers just does things on his timetable. The Steelers are well aware of that. If there was any frustration in the building, it was probably over just not knowing, but I don't ever get the sense it was enough to get them to consider moving in a different direction. They always felt like he was going to come play for them in 2026, and it appears that that is what is going to happen.
D. Wood, DraftKings has the Steelers win total this year at 8.5, which is absolutely perfect because we all know about their long run of non-losing seasons. Which side of that would you take right now? Would you take the over or under on 8.5 wins this year in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Greeny, I'll take the under. And, the last time we saw the Pittsburgh Steelers, was Aaron Rodgers basically running for his life against the Houston Texans and just looking like a shell of himself, not pushing the ball down the field, not looking like a guy who didn't want to get hit. And also remember that Steelers defense is one of, if not the oldest, defense in the National Football League, so they'll be a year older as well. So I know this Pittsburgh Steelers team organization has always talked about competing. They don't do rebuilds, but man, when you look at the parts of this team, it's just hard for me to believe that this team will be competitive, with the likes of Baltimore and maybe Cincinnati in that division.
I'm curious, Dan, what we know of the relationship between Rodgers and McCarthy, because I was sitting here doing this chair. We were in a different studio, but I was in this chair when Mike McCarthy got fired as coach in Green Bay, and I think there was at least some perspective that it was because he was clashing with Rodgers. What do we know about that?
Well, they were losing. And look, I think the relationship is in a better place now because it's been more than 7 years since they've lost a game together. And obviously, I think given time, and Rodgers has talked about this, it's kind of the time that's gone on in between has helped him sort of appreciate what he and Mike McCarthy accomplished together. So I do think there's been a little bit of a softening of a relationship that was absolutely frayed, if not broken, by the end of Mike McCarthy's time in Green Bay. It all sounds great. But again, if things were to start to go bad, if the Steelers were to lose games, have a rough season, I mean, the fact of the matter is we've seen with Aaron Rodgers how it goes. And he makes sure that he's not the one getting blamed.
I think it's worth noting, though, D. Wood, you can speak from the perspective of a veteran. They have these young quarterbacks in the building. One they drafted, both of them were late-round draft picks, but in each of the last 2 years, they've drafted quarterbacks to try and develop. And some of us on the outside might be saying, throw the kid out there. Let those kids play. See what you get out of it. If you're a veteran in that locker room, do you feel better today that Aaron Rodgers is there?
Yeah, absolutely you do, because Aaron Rodgers, of all the quarterbacks in that quarterback room, he gives you the best chance to win. I don't know if it's the best thing for the Pittsburgh Steelers as an organization, but yeah, listen, no one can deny the wealth of experience that Aaron Rodgers brings to the table. He had some semblance of success last year, and it dwindled towards the end of the season. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers is absolutely QB1 with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm in the interesting business. I just root for interesting things to happen. Aaron Rodgers being there remains, at least to some degree, interesting. Let's see if their team can be interesting this year. I'll remind you, as mediocre as it looked, they won the division last year. Coming up.
Is back at the Steelers facility this morning, and that is new on SportsCenter. Sources telling our Adam Schefter Saturday night that Rodgers is returning to the Steelers on a one-year deal that could be worth up to $25 million, and that footage in this morning as the Steelers have OTAs this week.
He's got corded headphones.
Of course he does, man. Do one deep dive on the internet and you'll get some too. Hey, what's up? Brooke Pryor joining us from the Steelers facility this morning. Close personal friend to the program.
Fair enough.
Me and Randy Scott. Brooke, great to see you. What is today going to look like for Rodgers at OTAs?
Well, Gary, it's important to remember Aaron Rodgers does not have to be here, but he is here. Consider this maybe a freshman orientation or a meet the teacher night. They'll go more into, team building and full offensive install once we get to training camp, but they're going to start setting the foundation for that here at OTAs, which is why it was so important for the Steelers to get him in the building, to get used to this new coaching staff. Old to him, new to some, new teammates, a lot to start learning and installing. You can see there, Aaron Rodgers arrived at the facility before 7 a.m., one of the first guys in the building. He left a little after 7 with a staffer, came back about 40 minutes later, likely to take a physical, because there are still some, paperwork things that have to get done, because while we know that he is returning on a one-year deal, he still has to sign that paperwork, and then he'll get to work. We'll see him out on the field here in a couple hours. They should be at their first OTA practice a little after 11 a.m.
Rodgers, of course, is going to be reuniting with his former head coach and Mike McCarthy. The duo won a Super Bowl together in Green Bay. What are you hearing about what their relationship is like at this point?
Look, time heals all wounds. Things might have been rocky when Mike McCarthy's tenure ended in Green Bay, because remember, he was fired while Aaron Rodgers